What's going on today? Disconnect something. Yeah, probably stuck something. Nope, I didn't do that. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go up there, so let me do this. Good morning. It must be Wednesday. Listening to the Arkansas Talk Radio Show here on KABF 88.3 FM, the voice of the people. We invite you to know the truth and music. I'm your host, Pat Rogers Ward, and I want to remind you that Arkansas Talks is committed to empowering racial and cultural relationships for a better world. And we are less than a week from Christmas. Next Wednesday, all day long, will be Christmas. So that means that I will not be here next Wednesday, but I will ask Russell to play some Christmas music or do something. Do you want to come in next?
I don't celebrate Christmas.
Oh, okay. So my co-host today will be here next Wednesday. She doesn't celebrate Christmas, so she'll give you some messages you will be surprised to hear. But in the meantime, what I wanted to do today was just do some general discussion about the holiday. I want to talk about what we believe, what we practice, try to hone in a little bit of the biblical version of Christmas, and just talk about the Christmas spirit. I'm not getting into politics. I'm not getting into religion. I'm just going to talk about something that might make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. How about that? So I had said that I was going to bring a copy of Maria Hoskins' book with me today and maybe read a little bit from it. And of course, I didn't do that. But the title of the book is Christmas Down on the Farm. It is available at the Pyramid Bookstore. I don't think they've already had the reading. It may be coming up this Saturday, or maybe it was this past Saturday. They usually have a reading with the kids at the bookstore, and they usually read from her book, Christmas on the Farm. So try to think of something that you might want to do to either renew a family tradition, or you might want to start a tradition of having something in the house and around the table that you might want to share, something that you might want to read that has to do with the holiday, or has to do with family gatherings and getting together, and see if that can be something new that you can do to make things just a little bit different for the family. I know that we just get together and on Christmas morning, we, of course, exchange gifts. But of course, the next biggest thing is eating. And I don't think we normally do breakfast. Sometimes, occasionally. You know, I have this thing that I love. I make this shrimp and spinach omelet, and it is amazing. It's real quick to fix, and sometimes I do that, but usually on the holidays when we cooked so much, you know, the ham, the turkey, dressing, greens, mac and cheese, sweet potato pies, potato salad, giblet gravy, and I usually boil turkey necks and gizzards to make my broth for the dressing. So we snack on turkey necks, and so it's pretty much the same thing every year, except sometimes we'll have different people down visiting, and they'll decide to come early and pitch in and help finish up the meal. So we just like to open the house to our home to anyone that's in need of fellowshipping with someone. They don't have to be by themselves. They can come by, they can either watch us cook, help us cook, or wait for us to get through cooking. And then they can be glad to get a plate. If they don't want to stick around, they can come by and get a carry out. So we try to do that on holidays, because this is a time of year when people, depression is high. Holidays. I can remember a time when I used to be extremely depressed on holidays, especially Christmas, and not to the point where I might do something unexpected, but if you don't have a significant other, or don't know how to appreciate what you do have and those in your life that you do have, and you might be caught up whatever society thinks a companion or mate might be. If you're caught up in that, you might have a tendency to be a little bit depressed if you don't have someone. But let me be the first to tell you, you do have someone, and it's you. And that's really important, because if you really take the time to think about how amazing the creation of life is, and how we function, how we think, we don't have to think about breathing. We need to think about breathing so that we can take deep breaths more often. But if we don't, it's okay, But if you take the time during the day to just take several deep breaths, think about it, just enjoy that moment, enjoy the quiet, you will find that you'll feel better. It's almost like a cleansing thing that happens with you. You want to, a new exercise that I've started doing throughout the day, and especially when I'm driving, is counting backwards from 100. That's interesting, because you got to focus enough to remember that you're counting backwards. And you'll be at 1 before you know it, but it takes your mind off of everything else, because you're focusing on making sure that you're counting in order, counting backwards from 100. Now, I call myself taking some time, because my co-host is doing some
no, I'm trying to get you up. I'm up. Okay. I'm trying to get you up. Your phone is, yeah.
The internet here is not strong.
Well, it says that you're connected, and so I'm good. I'm good to go. I just wanted you to be on with me right now. I'm just looking at myself.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So I want to welcome my girl. It's the first time.
It's my first time.
She had been here for me when I'm not here.
Yeah.
When I'm out and about on a cruise.
Yeah, doing you, loving you.
Yeah. But this is our first time being in the studio on my show. I was on her show a couple of weeks ago. And so I want to welcome the Reverend Dr.
You can call me Denise. Yes.
Denise. And she is amazing. She has her own show, Community Voices, on Tuesday and Thursday.
It's just on Tuesdays.
And
then I co-host with Tony on
Thursday. Yeah. So I want to thank her for filling in for me, for being the amazing person that she is. And welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I'm super excited.
Well, have you always not celebrated Christmas?
Oh no, I used to celebrate as a child. As a matter of fact, when you were talking about traditions, my father used to get me a live tree. We would get a live tree every single year, and I can still remember the smell of the
Yeah.
pine and the
Mhm.
hum, and how we used to have that thing that held the tree, and you had to put the water down in
Mhm.
there to make sure that it stayed alive.
Yeah.
And so it has. So I remember that. I remember that fondly. I did not stop celebrating Christmas actually until I became a pulpit pastor. That's what, yes,
Really?
that's what started to shift. Yeah, it started to shift my understanding around what we're doing.
Mhm.
So you said to do all of this that people can come. Is this at your house when you're saying you're having this tradition? People can come and eat, or they can come and watch you eat, or people can come and wait for plate after you eat, after you finish cooking. Like, is that at your house? You do
It's
that
at my daughter's house.
at your daughter's house? Oh, okay.
So
I
that's
didn't.
what we did.
And so anybody, like, so you send out an announcement? Do you make a
Well,
flyer?
because we normally have a lot of regular people. We
They
cook a
know.
lot that look forward to it. But if there is someone that needs, some companionship or whatever, we can accommodate it. And of course, don't see that my daughter is commenting to say anything.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just like the Woodson Henson community is small, but we've got friends and extended family that know that we could do that kind of thing every year. So if they're not doing something at home, they may call and say, "I'm gonna come by and get a plate." They may stop by, eat with us for a while. So it's usually not a lot of people, but they start sprinkling in after dinner and maybe the next day, because last year, I have a many shoes cooking. So asked her not to ever do that again. But
were y'all not able to get rid of the pie? Like, you didn't eat that many pies? Like,
oh no, they did. They come and get them. But my thing is, there's a limit to the number of pies she cooks sweet potato pies.
mm-hmm.
And if people request one, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
But don't just make a whole bunch of pies to give to people. Give them half a pie, fourth of a pie, but no, don't try to accommodate that. So, but she was feeling good. My daughter had been for years had health issues, and now she does not, and she's just all over the place. Thanksgiving, she did 2 German chocolate cakes from scratch, 7 or 8 sweet potato pies, banana pudding, and a peach cobbler.
Wow. Y'all do some real
And
cooking.
then she did homemade rolls, yeast rolls. Yeah, that was something new. So it was great to smell the fresh bread cooking in the house.
Now, is it just you and your daughter?
And my daughter, her husband, her son, that other daughter right there. She's always there. Usually, that's it. We'll probably have her client that she works for and his son probably come down. They came down for Thanksgiving. But anybody else? We never know who's going to drop in, but we did have other people come later for plates.
Mm-hmm. I think that's nice. I love a house that's filled with noise, right? With laughter, with, I don't know, sometimes tears, sometimes people playing games, because when my family gets together, that's how it is. Like, there's somebody playing cards, there's somebody in the corner talking, somebody might be at the pool table, there's some people in the kitchen, like people are just gathered all through. So there's all kinds of, there's children running around, it's people yelling and screaming at the children, it's people yelling and screaming at each other. It's just a whole lot going on, and I just love to be in the midst of all of those sounds. So it's good to know.
That's what we usually have when we get together. in Chicago. It's a thing. We're getting ready to start the tradition of playing Keno here. We're going to most of the ladies that volunteer for the community organization. We get together once a month and have lunch, go out for lunch. But for Christmas, we are having a potluck this coming Saturday, and we're thinking about starting to play Keno. And we play Keno, it's a family game in Chicago every body's birthday, holidays, whatever.
I never played that. I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's like bingo, but it's with playing cards, and we have pots that you can win. I think you put up a quarter, a nickel in each pot, and if you get 4 corners first, you get that pot. If you get 3 in a row, you get that pot. Center, it's a pot for center, and then it's a pot for Keno, which is like bingo. And then the biggest pot is coverall, which is at the end of the thing. So it's interesting.
To me, sound like a setup for an argument. You
Oh yeah,
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, when it comes down to the coverall, that's the big
yeah, I can see how that could go left at any moment.
When we did, I was up there for my niece's birthday in October, and the coverall, I think, was like around $50 or $80, and everybody got the coverall except 2 people. So they were talking about splitting it, like, no, we ain't splitting that money. So then my sister said, we'll draw a high card for it. And they drew a high card, and my nephew, we thought we were going to have to sedate him because his card that he drew was a 3. So
he already knew.
But it's fun, we talk about, we finished the Keno game, there was no bloodshed. But we don't argue and stuff, we just, play around like that. So tell me, what was it about your experience in the pulpit that changed your celebration of Christmas?
Oh, okay. So I am United Methodist, and the way that our system works, the bishops decide who's going to be appointed to what church. And because we have given this vow to the church that says, I'll go where you send me, once they appoint you, you really don't put up an argument, right? You just go where they tell you to go.
You really shouldn't put up.
You really shouldn't. And then for me, a person who was just coming into the church, I didn't really have any standing to put up an argument. When you've been in the church, when you've been a pastor for 20, 25 years, you have a different status and your voice is louder, right? But when you're just coming in like I was, and you didn't really have, you could have said whatever you wanted to say, but it was either going to be, you're going to accept this appointment or you go home and get your own job, that kind of thing. And so I was appointed to Mississippi City United Methodist Church in Gulfport, Mississippi, and it was a white church. And they had never had a Black pastor. They had never had a woman pastor. They had never had a Black woman pastor.
Oh, wow.
They had never had, and they didn't know personally any Black women who were as intelligent as I am, right? So a person coming in with 4 degrees, a person coming in as Black middle class. So all of their understandings around what it means to be Black were basically shaped by media. And so I'm coming in shattering all of that. And that kind of experience for people is off-putting, like it's unsettling, because I thought I knew, but I really don't know. So what is really happening? And so they're already going through their own stuff, right? I'm coming in my same bold, unapologetic self, not even realizing, because I didn't really understand on that level now that I do about what social justice does to your body, what racism does to your body and your mind and all of that, and your soul. And so I'm at the intersection of racism, classism, and sexism, just walking in the door. Yeah. And before I even got there, there had been this mass exodus that people found out that I was Black and woman. And they were like, it's like 100 people left the church before I even showed up, before my first day. And so I'm walking into this, and there was this faction of people that were just coming for me. They absolutely hated me. They did not want me to be their pastor. They were just, and they were not quiet about it. Now, there were people who welcomed me with open arms, don't get me wrong. But in my life, I don't know if you all are like this, but it's the people that are terrorizing you that get most of your attention, right? So I know people were trying to love on me, but I'm like, wait a minute, they trying to kill me. So I'm focused more over here. And so one of the women that was leading the faction against me actually lived 2 houses down, because in the United Methodist Church, generally there's a parsonage provided for you by the church, where the pastor lives in the church, that lives in the home that belongs to the church.
Right.
And so that's where I lived. And so she just happened to live 2 doors down. And when I tell you, she was so mean, so hateful, it was just bad, right? Mm-hmm. But when Christmas came, she put out all these lights. She put up the Christmas tree. She was leading the charge for us to have this beautiful tree in the sanctuary. Like, it was just like all of this. Let us give thanks to Jesus for all he's done. And it really made me start to think about how we embody our faith. So here you are about to kill me, yet. And when I say kill me, I'm talking about mind, body, soul, spirit.
Right.
She wasn't trying to kill me physically. Because if she would have done it. She didn't have any obstacle in this. That's what she was trying to do. But just, on a cellular level, she was trying to kill me. And so I started thinking about, okay, so what does it mean, right, to live your faith rather than put a show up about your faith, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I saw all of this, and then I'm living this, and then there were lots of other examples I can tell you about racism and classism and sexism that were happening in that building, where we were supposed to be gathered in the name of the Most High, right? Mm-hmm. To celebrate our faith through Jesus Christ, empowered by the Holy Spirit. Like, this is why we're supposed to gather, but that ain't really what's going on up in here. Mm-hmm. And so that just made me rethink. And so I decided at that moment that I was not going to put up another light, because of what I wanted to do was be the light. Right. And so I don't need no Christmas tree for that. I don't need a wreath on my door for that. I don't need any lights around my house for that. I need to focus on that. To be that. I need to embody that. Right. Being that. Right. And so I want people to experience me and feel that they have experienced peace, feel that they have been in the presence of something bigger, so that's what made me stop. Mm-hmm. That's what made me stop.
Well, what I was thinking about last night, because a lot is focused on the story of the birth of Christ, mm-hmm. about the star. Mm. And I was thinking, with all of the millions and billions of stars, I think a star is created every time someone is born.
Could be.
I thought about that last night. I'm like, we're not out, in the fields like the shepherds were supposedly that night. And so we don't know how bright the star shines every time someone is born, mm-hmm. And for the number of stars in the sky, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't one every time a birth takes place. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about that, and I also think about the other religions. And one of the things that I experienced that was really great a few years ago, when Oprah had the Belief series, and she was, the Belief series documented beliefs from different people all around the world, what they actually believed in, what they practiced. And I did the presentation at my church, which is Unity out on Reservoir. It's non-denominational Universal Awareness Church. And it was just amazing, the different things that people believe in around the world, other tribes. I mean, there was one situation where a young woman in the village, when she pledged her faith, and it's been a while, so I'm not exactly sure, but they put her in the middle of the square and pulled all of her hair out by the root. I mean, just pulled all of her. That was the ritual.
Oh, that's a ritual?
Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. There were so many different ones. There was one where you know, you climbed to the top of this real tall tree, and there was this vine that you jumped down, holding this vine, and come close to the ground, but you really didn't hit it. But
It
if the
sounds like
vine,
bungee jumping.
yeah, that's what it looked like. But that had something to do with how the crops grew. You know, if I guess if you landed and didn't crack your skull, you'd have a good harvest. If you did,
I wouldn't take the chance.
but I did have several locations throughout the city in Central Arkansas that, you know, downloaded the show and watched it in groups and had discussions about it. And it was pretty good. But just like you, I question how you can, you know, be so supposedly religious and then hate your fellow man. What do you talk about in church on Sunday? You know, if you don't believe that I'm equal to you, what do you talk about in church on Sunday if you think burning a cross and killing people that don't look like you? I don't understand the ritual for burning a cross.
Okay. Let me get this comment in from Lowe. He's going back to my story and says, according to the AME, the African Methodist Episcopal discipline, the congregation does not have to accept the preacher that is assigned. Okay, remember I said I'm United Methodist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that I've never heard where the congregation has not accepted because the way that we are in the way that we are programmed and conditioned around being in relationship with the pastor is that you're supposed to trust that the bishops are doing their job of being in the spirit of discernment, trying to figure out which pastor and which congregation can make the best marriage. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to take the gifts from both sides. And our prayer is that together they will do the work of making disciples for Jesus Christ all across the world. So you're trusting the process. As if you ever heard anybody ask you to trust the process.
Yeah.
And so the people trust. So when you say, okay, we're bringing you this, we're sending you this pastor, it's a whole ritual that you go through where you accept and you embrace. And so I just wanted to respond to him saying that according to the AME. So I don't know what they're doing in AME church, even though I used to be AME. That's not what happens in the United Methodist Church. But when you ask go ahead.
I grew up in AME church, but during the time that I worked with attorney Chris Mercer, we had a situation where he had a case where a minister did not accept his assignment, refused to go to the other church, stay at the church he was, and they physically changed the order of the church. It was no longer the AME church. They changed all of that.
Oh, they got out of the system.
They took all of that off the church. I mean, he refused to leave, and it was a hot mess.
Oh yeah, there have been pastors. Absolutely, there are pastors that do some quote unquote, I don't say crazy because people have given that a bad name as it relates to mental health, but people that do some wild things, that buck the system, that resist the system, that reject the system. So they absolutely do that. So here's also in Low in the 12th district, there are several instances where preachers were accepted by the congregation. I mean, I'm not really. Let me put this in Arkansas in the 12th district. I don't know if we're talking about AME. I don't know if we're talking about United Methodist. And when I say so, I don't even know when you say they weren't accepted by the. I was accepted by the congregation, but that did not mean that I was not still appointed as their pastor. You have to accept in terms of in your own heart, say, I want you to be my pastor. Like that's not what it meant to accept the pastor. It meant that you accepted the process of receiving this pastor. And like I said, this woman turned my life into a living hell. And so she didn't accept me in terms of wanting me there, but she couldn't do anything about it. I was still going to be pastor by regardless. I was appointed. Matter of fact, I stayed there 5 years. And so in order for me to stay there 5 years, it had to, at some point, the congregation said, we want you. They had to say that. And so things did turn around. I don't want to say that they did not, but I had to fight. I'm like Oprah, all my life I had to, all the time I was there, I had to fight. So, and you're still talking about AME, and I can't speak to the AME church in Arkansas because, again, I am United Methodist.
Mm-hmm. So,
but I was also, I got you right here. I was also thinking about,
yeah,
just stay right there.
On my Facebook page.
You're gonna be on mine, over here, and I'm gonna send you the link, and you can go. Yeah, you're fine. Just stay. You're fine, just like you are. You're fine. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything.
Okay.
You're fine, just like you are.
So, what I wanted to also talk about, you said growing up, you did have traditional things that you all did for the holidays, and I really don't buy into a lot of, sometimes people just go unbelievably off the chain with decorations. And now you got all this blow up stuff, and you don't know what they're celebrating. Because you got the Grinch,
yes,
dinosaurs, and you got a lot of different stuff. But traditionally, I can remember my grandmother had a nativity scene, and it had a little light in the back of it. You could plug it up, but it had, all the little animals and the baby in the manger, and that nativity scene. And so many people used to have it, but she had it for years, and every year, when you put up the tree, she put up the little nativity scene of I guess barn. Born in a manger, but it was in the barn with animals and what have you. And that caused me, along with another movie I watched the other day about the little girl that was born on Christmas night, and she had the ability
what do you talk about at church? What are you preaching about? What are you worshiping about when you don't think that I am worthy as a human? When you don't see my value as like, what are you even talking about in church? And the way that Christianity as a religion, as a structure, as a system of oppression, that's the Christianity I'm talking about. The way that it's designed is we've created this kind of insider outsider structure. So if you don't believe like I believe, then you're not even invited into the church. So most of the people that you are worshiping with have the same ideology, the same theology as you. So whatever the pastor is preaching, you receive it because all of y'all are on the same page. And because if it were truly church, anybody should be able to come in with any understanding of any God, and it should be okay. But that's not how it is. You got to believe this, you got to do that. And so people are talking to themselves, like it's kind of an echo chamber. And so for me, and because of that, we don't take the time to really dig into what it is we believe. And so if we just stop for a moment right now and go back to your story about the nativity scene, and you've got Jesus in the manger, and you're saying, okay, wait a minute, you just said that they were shepherds or whoever it was in the field following a star. So they did not have a car, they did not have transportation, they were walking. So if the star was created, they was on camels. That's what they said. So if the star was created when Jesus was born, and they now see the star and they got to follow the star to him. There's no way they could have possibly made it when he was in the manger. Right. And so actually Jesus was 2 when the people finally met him. But we got all these mangers, we got all these babies. When we get to Christmas, we're celebrating Jesus as an arm baby. And it could not possibly have happened that way. But that's not what we talk about in church, right? We just tell people it was a baby and now we serving him as a baby. As a matter of fact, some people will not even allow him to grow up. Like, so for some people, Jesus still in the manger. You know, it's like, wait, what?
But not only that, but he wasn't conceived like everybody else was. It was supposedly immaculate conception.
So you're gonna get me in trouble because I'm gonna call it a rape. But hold on just a minute. Lo is on here. He says we are supposed to worship in spirit and in truth, not the flesh, as the doctrine goes. Yeah, because God is spirit, and see, this is another thing that happens, right? Because the Bible does say that God is spirit, and those that worship God should worship God. Like, the Bible does say that, but do we practice that? So they're two different things, like what the Bible actually says, what we actually believe, what we actually practice, and what we actually teach. So I think you're right. I mean, I know you're right. We're supposed to worship in spirit and truth, but that is not what we do at all. Because if we did, we wouldn't worry about Jesus being a man. Like, why would we need a man with blue eyes and blonde hair and good abs and like, why would we need blonde eyes? Why would we need that if we're worshiping in spirit and truth?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you said something, and I started studying metaphysics when I was in Chicago, the Science of Mind. So the Unity Church does accept all of faiths. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like.
Yeah, Unitarian Universalists are like that too.
Yeah, and so that's the reason why I started going to that church, because I needed something that would tell me that I'm all right regardless.
Regardless, you know? I'm already all right. Yolanda Adams sings that song, I'm already all right.
And with all of the things that I was going through, coming up through traditional religion, none of that address what I was dealing with in my life. So I grew up with low self-esteem or none, and not knowing that I was supposed to be happy. I'm busy trying to make everybody else happy. And so when I started reading some things from Science of Mind, I mean, it just shook me, and I wanted more and more and more. And so my experience has been, the more that I learn whatever I need, it comes to me, So I started with Science of Mind. I did a course in miracles, which you hear a lot of people talk about. But I've done a lot of books and teachings that has to do with spirituality more than religion. And that is what I feel more comfortable with, being spiritual. Because if you look historically, we have all been blessed with a great spiritual guide. I mean, even in the worst of times, which you would think during slavery and before that, there was always someone of color that did not bow down to that. And they lift themselves up and they survived. You've got inventors that some kind of way they were able to register a patent, way back then, even though it was not a record for us to know about. We're just finding out about a lot of Black inventors. But I just look at those possibilities, and I learned so much from Mother Abrams, the doors that opened for her, throughout her life as a servant, the things that she's done, and she wind up in places that, you wouldn't even believe, you couldn't even plan it, with her meeting Nelson Mandela and all of the things that she worked so hard to do. It's just miraculous. And if you believe in spiritual guidance for those things that are right, you have to stop and pay attention to what's happening around you, because it is a blessing to wake up every day. It's a blessing to have a sane mind. But we play a role in determining what we think about.
Mm-hmm.
And if we find ourselves thinking about
You're fine.
if we find ourselves thinking about something that is stressful, that upsets us, we're the only one that have the power and authority to change that thought. You know.
I love that you said power and authority, right?
Yeah, we have the power and authority to change how we think about something. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it may be a little bit of a challenge, but we should strive to get our thought process to a positive space that remembers something joyful.
Yeah, let me get this comment in from Lo. He says, knowledge is not a bad thing, even for religious folks. So then he quotes Hosea 4:6. I think that maybe, Hosea 4:6. And so, no, knowledge is not bad. And so that's what my question is for you, Pat. Like, when you say that, okay, here I was going through as a person, I'm in this religious space, but I realize that it's not relevant to my life, right? Y'all are saying a whole bunch of things. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in here. There's a whole lot of beliefs and convictions in the room, but I cannot apply them because it's not making a difference in what I'm living every single day. And so something, which I believe is your own spirit, had to say, look, there's another way. There's another path for me to, there's got to be another way. There's got to be another path. And so the harm that I think that religion caused, especially Christianity, is that it has taught us to focus outside of ourselves. So Jesus becomes everything that I'm supposed to need and want. So I don't trust my own inner God. Yeah. I don't trust that I am already divine. I don't trust that my spirit is more than enough for me to do whatever I need to do. So when we're talking about enslaved folks having the gumption to say, I don't believe in this stuff. I'm not bowing down to this. For them to have the gumption to say that I'm going to tap into my own creative mind and invent something, that's because we already have, as the created ones, everything that we need. And so that's the harm of religion as a whole, but especially Christianity, because now when we need something, we're like, oh, Jesus gonna fix it. Jesus gonna provide. Jesus gonna heal. Jesus gonna give me a job. I'm like, no, you have got to do these things, right? Now, if you want to feel strengthened by something, that's one thing, but to turn everything over, your entire life over to this, that is not good.
Well, I think that a lot of things that have happened to me that lets me know there is a power greater than everything spiritual is when you experience that holy instance. You know, you have a thought or you have a presence, you have something that happens within you that you couldn't create it.
And you can't deny.
And you can't deny it. And you can't, and an example of that, I was in a very abusive marriage.
Okay.
And because of religion, I felt that if I made a vow till death do you part, that I should stay
in it.
Yeah, even though some of my experiences with this person was almost death, but I wasn't thinking about my safety, my happiness, but I was thinking about that oath that was taken. And I searched the Bible trying to find that it was okay to leave.
Did you find it?
Yeah, because it came to me, it was like a vision. It was animals like in a Disney movie, and there was a stream of clear water, and the voice said, it's okay to go.
That sounds like Psalm 23 to me.
It was like an angelic voice, but I heard it.
Yeah.
And see, if you've been in a bad place and you're trying to find an answer, if you listen, you'll hear it. And that's what I heard. And hey, I gathered my stuff and I got up out of there. Because the state of mind of that person was so erratic that's one of those stories that, well, he killed his wife and his kid, and then he may or may not have killed himself. But to me, if you're gonna kill yourself after you discovered you,
just kill yourself at first. Right, I'm with you on that. I'm like, why don't just take your own life? But and I want to take this moment to apologize as an enlightened member of the clergy on behalf of my colleagues who are still. Well, I don't know if but I just want to own that I realize it's blood on my hands, okay? Because there are many of us who have been indoctrinated to believe the kinds of the verses from the Bible as literal. So where it says God hates divorce, right? And so we just take out that one little scripture and then we apply it to everybody. So if you had come to us for counseling, we would have counseled you to stay, and we would have counseled you to stay in the name of God, right? And we would have shamed you for wanting to leave in the name of God. Like, we do that kind of stuff because many of us have not done our own work, and because we don't realize that the power of ministry, and don't get me wrong, the power of the ministry of the pastors no greater than the power of the ministry of the politician. Well, I don't want to say politician, but the counselor at a school or the nurse at a hospital. Like, all of us have ministry and all of them are powerful. It's harmful that we think that pastors should be elevated, that our ministry should be elevated. So that's harmful. So but we don't realize how powerful our words are, because we are representing that space, right? We are representing this spiritual and this sacred space. And so what people don't do, again, it goes back to thinking, it goes back to reading, it goes back to studying, it goes back to having a heart that's open to believing more than just what you read on the face of it. Because when we actually dig into the text, what it goes through, and it says, if you do these things, you're going to end up in divorce, and God hates divorce. He doesn't want you to be divorced, but the only reason you are is because you're treating each other bad. So what God is really saying is, hey, pay attention to how you are in relationship with each other. Pay attention to how you are honoring each other. Pay attention to how you are embracing the spirit of each other. Because if you do that, your relationships will last. That's what the word is really saying. He's not saying, I don't care what happened in your relationship, you better not divorce. That's not it at all. But we don't think about that, and we don't say that. And so I know that I have preached people into situations that they shouldn't have been. Like, it kept them there because I was trying to honor the word without having done the work myself. And so I want people to know that there are those of us who recognize that we've been on a journey and we are now on the other side, but we do need to be held accountable for the actions that we've caused that were harmful to folks, right? And so I'm glad that you were able to say, I'm going to speak. But was that before or after you started doing the science of the minds that you were able to say? Okay, and so that's what I want you to speak to. So again, what is it? What was it in you that says, hey, I know what y'all saying about God. I heard what y'all said about divorce. I also know what I'm dealing with, and I think I'm supposed to stay, but my body cannot handle this. This is not sustainable. So what did you do?
I had a mental collapse.
Oh.
My doctor told me, give me enough pills I was almost paralyzed, laying in bed. And I could not move, literally. Looking at my arms, and I couldn't lift. And the doctor said I needed a divorce, and that I should, he gave me enough medication for a week. But I couldn't go and talk to my spouse,
Obviously not.
Yeah, but anyway, it was before then that happened, and of course, I've had all kind of miraculous things happen since then. I started with the science of mind, but it's just amazing if you be still and know that you are God.
But to me, that also speaks to what you believed about yourself. Like, I believe myself worthy of more.
I didn't have anything that I believed about myself.
You had to. You had to, because if you did not think that you were better than your situation, if you did not think that there was a world out there created just for you that was different from what you were living in right now, if you did not have any notion that there was a different way to be, you would have stayed right there and died in that bed. You would not have sought anything. You would, and even though the doctor told you that you needed a divorce, that didn't mean that you had to listen to the doctor. So it had to be something going on inside of you. You just didn't recognize it.
I did not.
But it had to be, because otherwise you wouldn't have taken those steps. And that's what we need people to do, right? We need people to figure out, actually it's probably through community, to begin to be in relationship with folks that speak to them, right? Because you said you probably had low self-esteem or no self-esteem. So we need community that speaks. So you had none. So we need to surround ourselves with community that says, wait a minute, Pat, do you know how brilliant and worthy you are? And then that helps us begin to see ourselves better. But there's no way you can convince me that there wasn't something that you saw inside that you just didn't realize.
Well, I was afraid of dying. I did not like the physical abuse. Of course.
But plenty of people have stayed and died.
Yes.
Plenty of people have stayed and died.
So for the last few moments of this show, we got about 6 minutes. I want to change the topic and talk about the spirit of giving, spirit of receiving, but mostly the spirit of giving, because there are people during this holiday season that remember a childhood when they received, and as adults, they find themselves in a situation where they don't have. And it's painful for them to remember the memories of Christmas as a child and not be able to enjoy that today. So anything that our listeners can do that's totally different, out of the ordinary from what you might normally do to help someone else have a smile on their face for Christmas. There are parents and grandparents that have no idea how they are going to provide for their children and grandchildren at this time, not at a stage where you're trying to buy your kids Nikes and all this kind of stuff, but just some basic toy, and to be able to have maybe some fruits and nuts and a good meal. And I would like to just imagine a miraculous moment between now and next Wednesday when those people that are really stressing themselves out and not knowing where the next meal is coming from, I would like to imagine that miraculous moment happens for them between now and next Wednesday, and they are able to give to their loved ones a gift, have food in their house for the holidays. That's my thought. That's my positive prayer. I want to imagine just miraculous. Somebody show up at your door with a box of food, because that can happen. I remember a story of this family. The woman did not have milk for her baby. And this guy was going to the store for something, and for some reason kept telling him to go a different way. He had gone to the store to buy some milk, and something kept telling him to go a different way. So he followed it. He stopped in front of his house that he didn't know about. And he got up, took the milk, and went to the door, knocked on the door. And the woman said she had been praying for milk because she didn't have milk for a baby. So sometimes we have to follow that intuition, follow that drive. You normally go make a left at the corner, but for some reason it's telling you to make a right. And we have to trust that it's okay. You don't have to know a person to care enough to give, you know. I would rather respond to that intuition than to respond to somebody that stands on that corner every day, you know. And so, what is it that's in our spirit that we would like to see happen that would be a miracle for Christmas? And that's mine. I would like for people that don't have food to have it, and little children that don't have toys or clothing to have that. That's what I would like. That's the miracle that I would like to see for Christmas. Because they say Christmas is a time for miracles. You know, I know that miracles happen every day. But what miracle would you like to see happen?
Well, I'm just going to just piggyback on your miracles, your miraculous situations, because I just want to remind us that we are the miracle. Like for something miraculous to happen, we have to be the miracle that makes it make it happen, right? And so my prayer would be that we would slow down enough to hear, right? Yeah. Because in order for me to know I should take a right rather than a left, I've got to hear that. In order for me to hear that, I've got to be still enough and centered enough. And I don't believe that just in general, we do that. We center ourselves enough. And especially during this time of year, like we're so busy, ripping and running, going to the grocery store, trying to get the gift, trying to wrap the present, we're so busy. So in order for us to be the miracle, we're going to have to get somewhere and be still so that we can hear. So I just wanted to add on to that.
Yeah, and the Bible does say, be still and know that I am God. But in that being still, I would suggest that you take the time to breathe and count backwards from 100. You'd be surprised at how things can change.
It does not work for me, Pat, because I get so focused on what number I'm on. I'm like, wait a minute, am I on 98? Am I on 96? And so then I have to stop and start over.
Exactly, but that's a good exercise. It's a good exercise.
I try to use it to go to sleep, and I can't because I'm like, what number is it? What number is it?
But try counting backwards from 100 and taking at least 3 deep breaths, and you will find that it is good. So for each and every one of you, I do appreciate you listening every weekend, every week, Wednesday. I pray that you have a miraculous experience for this Christmas holiday. Find someone to share what you have with them. And until next Wednesday, we'll see you on. Next Wednesday, the show will be hosted by Denise Donnell. She will be filling in for me because I will be at home enjoying Christmas with my daughter and extended family. So until next Wednesday, Denise will see you on the radio.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.